Thank you for your time this morning. Hey, Kevin, what's your reaction to this now? I guess when they went over the math, it's not 125%, it's 145%, the U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods.
I've been an advocate for raising it to 400% in one move to force Xi to the table, because this narrative with China is not just about tariffs. Since China joined the WTO in 2020, or it's actually 2000, they have not abided by the rules in any single year. There is no way you can figure out or settle a trade dispute with them, although they said they'd agree to do that. They never did. They have been constantly stealing American IP, including many from my companies. We have not been able to litigate there. There is no resolution available to us. They are using our financial markets. I have to compete with Chinese companies that don't abide by GAAP, listing on NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange for investors' dollars, and I am forced to comply, and they're not. They're allowed to use our legal system to sue me here in the United States. I can't do the same in China. So I'm just one hand. I put up my hand. I was testifying yesterday at the China hearings in Washington, and I said I've had enough. And I expect you, lawmakers, and the administration to finally go to task and settle this once and for all, because I don't care if it's 1,000% tariffs. They have to come to the table now and not just settle this trade war. They need to settle all of this unbalanced situation. We need, all of us, look, I have nothing against the Chinese people. I love the Chinese people. All of their contributions to culture over the millennia is well documented. It's the government. They cheat, they steal, they don't play by the rules, and I've had enough. And so I would like this thing worked out. I don't care about the volatility. I don't care if Trump ratchets it up 25% a day.
What do you mean? Wait, Kevin, what do you mean you don't care about volatility if volatility has a direct impact on us as the consumers?
Because we have to fix this problem once and for all. It's killing us. It's killing small business in America. It's killing large businesses. All the IP these guys steal. You go back and look at all of their technological advancements, and this is a personal estimation, you're going to find source code from American companies back 4 decades ago. These guys don't play by the rules. And administration after administration, whether it be European or American, have not dealt with this. It's enough. We've got to solve this problem. Okay. Now, if we have to squeeze Chinese heads to the wall, as I said yesterday when I was testifying, so be it. I'm willing to live with the volatility to get the long situation settled. I want to compete in China. I want to open up those markets.
If what you're saying is carried out to its ultimate solution, you're talking about the fact that China, the regime, has a system in place that is able to manipulate the world, its currency, and everything else because of its totalitarian nature. Now, we can talk about what happened in 48. We can talk about what happened with Taiwan. We can talk about everything else. But Kevin, it's a reality. The Cultural Revolution in China killed millions of people so that people would remember that they had to remain silent. What you're saying is, I've had enough with China,
but you're good with it?
No,
you're okay with it?
No. On the contrary, but what I'm asking you is, what is the solution to dealing with China, a system that systematically violates human rights,
Here's how
and that
it works.
is able to use?
Well, you asked me, I'm going to tell you. You got Xi.
Okay.
He's the supreme leader for life. What keeps him in power?
Yes.
Keeping his people employed and fed. Now, when you shut down a factory, I think Janice Mackey-Ferrer just on before me, he's talked about this. When you shut down a factory, you put thousands, if not tens of thousands of people unemployed in China. They take burning torches, just like in a Frankenstein movie, up to the castle, and that's a bad outcome for the supreme leader. He knows that. Now, what's the largest consumer market on earth? The United States. Almost 40% of all goods consumed worldwide. What's the largest GDP? 25 or 26% GDP of the world? The United States of America. China needs the United States of America. We have the upper hand right now. We have the cards. Now's the time to settle this, because we may not be the largest economy forever, but right now we can squeeze Chinese, and I'm talking about the government, not the people, to comply with the laws and get a level playing field between China and the United States of America. If it takes a little volatility, a little indigestion, a little acid reflux, I don't care. I want this thing worked out now, because I can show you countless occurrences of where I have backed, as an investor, a company that gets to $5 million in sales with a consumer good or service on Amazon, on Alibaba, and then as soon as it hits 5 million, it's knocked off. They steal the IP, they manufacture it there, they sell it back into this market. I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with that anymore.
That's the nature of the regime. So what you're calling for is a regime change in China?
No. We don't have to change the regime. Xi has to come to the table and understand he's got to work this out. Otherwise, there's a bad outcome for him. And listen, there's something else you should be aware of, and I saw this happen yesterday. It's now public information. This Paul Atkins guy was confirmed for the head of the SEC. And why that matters, I don't know if you saw that letter from Rick Scott. What he said, I'm not going to confirm you unless you agree to uphold the law that the previous administration did not uphold about delisting Chinese companies that do not abide by GAAP. There's billions of market cap right now listed on NASDAQ and NYSE companies that I have to compete with. I have to pay for the compliance costs. I have to be transparent. I have to abide by the law, and they don't. And they raise money with the same bankers I use, and I have to compete with them, and they're not being transparent. They have to get delisted. And Atkins, I guess, they must have an agreement because he got confirmed. As soon as he gets sworn in, start delisting these Chinese companies. This law was modified to only give them 2 years to abide and actually comply, and they didn't. So delist them. Why should I have to compete with them? Let's squeeze them. Just keep going and going and going until they start complying. That's what I want.
Kevin, it's an interesting perspective. I very much appreciate it. I hope we can continue our conversation. I am a big student of history, and I have been troubled by what the Maoist revolution and what has happened since then in China has meant, not only for the Chinese people and for the Uyghurs and for so many others, but also how they have, through their complete control of that system, been able to manipulate things and been able to exploit people throughout the world. Kevin, I thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. Good things to come, I think.
Let's see what happens. I appreciate it. Let's go right to Capitol Hill where there's breaking news. The House just adopted the Senate amended budget resolution.
What was that? The 90-day pause, or more commonly known as the world burns, starring none other than the tariff man himself, Donald J. Trump, and his, the sidekicks we call the ever-dramatic Fox News, cameo appearances from Elon Musk, and the economic jailbird himself, Peter Navarro. Fox News is kind of divided into two bits. Some of it hate what's going on, they live in the real world, and 95% of it are so far up his own back. Trump's backside. Is this real life or just fantasy? There's a question. 90-day halt on tariffs for everyone. Yes, everyone except China, which just got slapped with a whopping, was it 125%, 4,000%? Who knows what figure it's going to be Thursday, Wednesday. To me, it's kind of become like watching a game show host decided who gets a car and who gets a goat hidden behind the curtain. And China, they got the goat. And as I said, over at Fox News, it's a different story. Some of them are painting this tariff pause as a second coming. Headlines, breaking news, pundits praising Trump's strategic genius. It's as if Trump just saved the economy, parted the Red Sea, and discovered a cure for the common cold. But not really a cure for where AWR Melania is. And he did it all before breakfast. Elon Musk and Peter Navarro. I don't know where to start. Musk doesn't like Navarro, doesn't like tariffs, and is moaning about it. Whereas Navarro is suddenly like, he's being reinvented. Let's power cars with a combustion of fuel coming out of Navarro's mouth. I mean, I don't know. He's just spinning it. Between him and Levette, they could be a DJ at a nightclub the way they're just spinning this trade dynamic mess. And the craziest thing about all of this is Twitter is like a battleground right now of hashtags and hot takes. Tariff man is trending with memes of Trump, the art of the deal, all of that stuff. And 90-day finance. I'll get the joke out eventually. Trump and Xi Jinping are in an uneasy reality TV marriage, which is kind of being brokered by, I would say, a bemused-looking Elon Musk. MESS. And don't forget, Howard Lutnick, the man he's got a lot in common with the average millionaire on the street. He's like a bobblehead that's just had a double espresso, nodding. He's probably calling it a genius move. Although I'm sure a few days ago he would say there'd be no pause. But he's just turning pause today into the next big thing. Where's it all going to end? What happens next? I mean, it's like we are trusting the guy with the tariffs who makes a casino go bust. Google it. He made Mr. 90-day tariff man he made a casino go bust. It's less about trade balance and probably in his world more about the balance of his truth social posts. It's a tale of distraction, a sleight of hand to keep us all guessing, while nothing really changes today, maybe tomorrow. It's kind of the equivalent of a dad joke. It's so bad, it's just really bad. It's probably best we all forget it. It's like an episode of Global Economics turned sitcom. Pop some popcorn and wait for the next X or tweet to drop. It's kind of like are they just trying to trend? Do they think if you're not trending on a social media platform, you're not governing? Is that what they want? Because I generally do not know what's going to happen next. Will Tariff Man's gamut pay off? Or will it go down as just another blip in the history of economic policy misfires? Excuse the cliche, only time will tell. But one thing is certain, in the world of politics, social media, it's actually entertainment, really. It is entertainment. It's costing us all a fortune to watch, but hey, there's no such thing as a free streaming service, or let's call it a free screaming service these days.
Rodrigo, just moments ago, Bianna's joining us now live from New York. What were the key takeaways from the former Treasury Secretary, Bianna?
Well, Wolf, she did not hold back. Secretary Yellen, we should note, this was her first interview since the start of President Trump's administration. And she, I believe, made comments that may have impacted the market and led to an additional sell-off because she said as a result of the president's trade policies and economic policies, the risk, in her view, of a recession has gone up. I asked her about how she's now back as a professor, would grade the Trump administration's overall economic policies thus far, and her response was quite scathing. Here's what she said.
I'm afraid I could not give it a passing grade. I'm sorry. I think policy this is the worst self-inflicted wound that I have ever seen an administration impose on a well-functioning economy.
The worst self-inflicted wound by an administration. Wolf, that is quite damning. And she also said that there was a collective sigh of relief given the fact that the president put a pause on these reciprocal tariffs. But I asked her to respond to a headline in The Economist today, which reads, Trump's incoherent trade policy will do lasting damage even after his backtracking. And I asked her if she agreed with that assessment. Here was her response.
It was a relief that the reciprocal tariffs that would have affected more than 180 countries, that a pause was placed on those. But still, even if they never go into effect, the U.S. and global economies have suffered a huge protectionist shock. We have enormous, almost prohibitive tariffs on China, which is one of our most important sources of imports, very substantial tariffs still on Canada and Mexico, on the auto sector, and a 10% general tariff that applies to most countries around the world. And economists calculate that at this point, average tariff levels are now in the 20 to 25% range. At the beginning of the Trump administration, they were just over 2%. So even if the reciprocal tariffs are abandoned, we have the highest average tariff rate since 1934. And this is going to raise the costs that households in the United States face. One credible estimate that came out this morning that takes into account yesterday's actions estimates a cost to the typical American household of the existing tariffs of about $4,000, which is enormous. It'll have a significant impact on the price level and an adverse impact on the United States and on the global economy.
And Wolf, Secretary Yellen also said that she believed that rising Treasury yields was what ultimately led the president to put a pause on these reciprocal tariffs. I should note this was an interview conducted by myself and my co-anchor, Zane Asher. Secretary Yellen also said that she does fear that foreign investors may have lost confidence in the U.S. as a safe haven because of some of these policies. And then, Wolf, as you know, this is an administration, this is a president that almost on a daily basis has been trashing the economy that they inherited from President Biden. Well, she was Treasury Secretary under President Biden until he left office. And so I asked her to respond to some of the comments that they have made about her work, about that term. And she said, I'll leave it at this. This was an economy that was the envy of the world when we left office. But now she, as I noted, is concerned about a likely recession because of some of these policies in the early months of Trump's administration.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, she said this is the worst self-inflicted wound by a president on a healthy economy that she's ever seen. Bianca
Trump
Rodriguez,
seems to be doing
excellent work. Thank you,
from
very,
tweeting
very much,
people
Pamela.
to buy stock and then later announcing his development on taxes. If people are pissed about insider trading here at the House, look at what's happening at the White House right now and with the Republican Party.
Do you think he knew what he was doing when he sent out that message about stocks before he made the announcement?
It sure seemed like he did. I don't think that it was a coincidence. I don't think that Trump just coincidentally said buy stocks and then shortly later made an announcement that dramatically inflated and dramatically raised a lot of these asset prices. And, you know, I've heard murmurings on the floor that there may have been people that knew that this was coming. And I'm very interested in seeing some of the stock disclosures that come out in when those reports are due. And I'm very interested in what members of Congress have been buying and trading stocks.
All right, with us now, CNN senior political commentator and Republican strategist David Urban and Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha. Let's go over some of the headlines and leads in today's papers. The Washington Post, Trump blinked. Wall Street Journal opinion, Trump blinks. The New York Times lead says bond yields calls Mr. Trump to blink. The Financial Times, why did Donald Trump buckle? And just for the sugar on top here, Politico says getting yippy with it, and Puck says unliberation day. So David Urban, blink, blink, buckle. But as Kate Baldwin asked this morning, was this all bungled?
No, John, I don't think it was bungled. I think that the markets got a little skittish. I think that the House and Senate are working diligently to get this tax bill done and get some things pushed through. I think that if the markets stepped back and just were a bit more patient and paused, the administration was getting a lot of good things done. They have a stable coin bill getting done, which is going to really make the U.S. dollar much stronger globally. So I think taking the totality, the administration is moving forward in a pretty good direction. However, the bond markets, as you noted there, really put a scare into the administration. I think when the cost of borrowing for the federal government goes way, way up and the U.S. dollar doesn't become the reserve currency, which is what it looks like when you have a bond market sell-off like was happening, I think that's what caused the pause button to be pushed.
Shouldn't they have known that was going to happen?
I'm sorry?
Shouldn't they have known that is what was going to happen?
Well, John,
as they say in Spinal Tap, it's their not their job to be
anybody can
as
predict,
Nigel. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, if anybody can predict the markets like that, let me know and I'll go follow them and invest with them. No, I don't think they can predict how the bond market, what's going to happen globally with the bond market. I don't think that's predictable. I really don't.